Hello and welcome to this webinar, our second online about online tuition overall. My name is Thomas, working here at SpeedAdmin, and here we got Mr. Dan getting handling all the technique for us, starting out with muting ourselves there.
Oh yeah.
And Dan has done a great more setups, so he's really gone into the techie bit now. Oh wow. We can see
so that's
where we
the
are.
techie bit. Now we're done. Yeah.
Yeah, well, should we go on the presentation, Dan?
Yeah, let's do that.
So, as you probably know, we've already had our first online tuition webinar 2 weeks ago. You can see that in our YouTube channel. We made a special playlist called SpeedAdmin Academy now. And you're, of course, very welcome. Thank you for all the feedback we've got on that webinar and all the questions afterwards. It's been really great that people liked it so much and engaged and come up with more ideas. So please, if any of you is sitting there with some feedback, please give it to us. And that's also for the chat. So if you're online on the chat today, or if you're logged into YouTube, please chat with us during the webinar. If you have any questions, go ahead and write in, or any comments at all, please go ahead. And I hope everything, otherwise sound and everything is okay. Nobody's writing anything anyways in the chat. I think everybody's happy. But you can of course write in the chat if you think everything is good.
Of course, we will try to answer all your questions as soon as possible. We have the chat in front of us right here, so we'll try to multitask.
Yep. And Dan's got a lot of different buttons over here, so he really needs to multitask today. So that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to that show, the button show going on here. Well, we're going to be talking about the tech part of doing online tuition today. First of all, getting techie with it, why and what to expect. Just a quick summary of what you're going to go, what you can get out of this. And then we're going to do some basic overview about what to remember when doing online tuition or recordings or other stuff, how you want to use this. And then we got some great guest stars. We've got a great guest star line, Suzanne from Trafford in Manchester, Mads here from Denmark, and also Thomas here from Denmark. So we're really looking forward to having, that's actually the main attraction of this webinar. It's not Dan and me, it's actually these great guests. So we're really looking forward to that. So, and in the end, as I mentioned, you can ask any questions as we go forward, but in the end we'll follow up as well, and also tell you a little bit how can we get some of the next steps going. So should we get into it?
Let's do that.
Why are we doing these webinars, Dan, and why are we doing it now? Somebody might say, well, why couldn't you do this a year ago? Now, this knowledge I could really have used a year ago for the first lockdown. And I don't know if you got the answer.
No, really, I think it's a compilation of different things. I think we all caught up with the corona a bit. You know, what's going on? We all need to move in different directions. What's the next? Are we just in a lockdown, not doing anything? And slowly, it all opened. Not opened really seriously, but opened on the online side. And that was also a great eye-opener for us. We were about to have the first steps on the video lesson tool, and suddenly, all of a sudden, we just really needed to work. So all the developers were on that task and did everything really fast and really slick. And then we have all been in a period with all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of struggling with different things, and now we felt that we had the time to get a bit of a look back and also trying to look into the future, as we mentioned on the last webinar also.
So I think if we knew what we know now, then no doubt we would have done this webinar a year ago. We really upgraded in a lot of ways. We were sitting there with a SpeedAdmin Studyplanner that had been there for some month, but nobody had really picked it up, and then it just went crazy. But we're doing this webinar, first of all, because we want to celebrate all the great work that the music teachers and culture school teachers have done in all the different countries. Amazing what you've been doing by keeping the music going, and also inspire to kind of not just looking back, but really looking forward. Say, how can we take what we learned and bring it into the future? The way that we're going to be teaching from now on, how can we use this information? And we want to prepare us and you guys for that. So that is pretty much the why here. So let's start out with the basics. And I know you're going to talk a lot more, but let me quickly run through some of the overalls themes. So with the Wi-Fi or internet, when you do online tuition, and this is both for, of course, for the teachers as well as the students, as a lot of you have probably known or realized, you need a good Wi-Fi connection or get hooked up with the Ethernet. Yeah. And I guess, as you mentioned, you can do that a good test with a speed test.
Yeah, there's a different kind of. I think your operator of the internet is most likely to have some kind of speed connection test. You can use the Ookla, OOKLA.com. They have a great independent test simulator which you can use. So, of course, you need to have secured that your connection is up to speed.
And no doubt, in this, the Corona period has made us understand that Wi-Fi is not just Wi-Fi.
No.
There's a lot of elements in it. And sitting at home, you can sit close to the router, but also be aware that technical things like a screen or other stuff can interfere with your Wi-Fi. So again, they're getting hooked up directly, getting the Jews directly in there, and also making sure that you don't have other applications running that are taking up your internet. Light, I'm not going to say much because you got a great slide about that in just a second, but it's really easy way of making sure that it looks good when you're doing online tuition. And sound, you're also going to get a bit more into that. Of course, that's one of the obvious things. Both, it will. Do you need to have the voice and the guitar, or are we just going with the built-in microphone? And you got some great inputs on that as well, Dan. And also some of that our guest is going to be talking about.
Exactly.
And also cameras. Actually, how do we? Yeah, there's really been development in what you're using and what you can use. And there's lots of ways, and I know Mass is probably going to talk about it, how you in a cheap way, really cheap way, can get upgraded on your cameras.
Exactly.
And I guess that's important for us to say, we're not going to do a webinar today talking about now you need to buy that, and you need to ask your leader of the music service to buy this and that, and then you got your home studio, and it's going to cost you a bunch of money. We're going to try to talk about the easy things to pick, and then we're probably going to get more and more techie as we get through the webinar.
I think you're right.
So some of our last guests, it's going to be perhaps really techie, but here at the beginning, it's starting out very simple. So, Dan, sorry.
Yeah.
Lighting.
We're going to talk about, the low fruits hanging at the bottom of the tree here. So really, both lighting, sound, camera is like a threesome that all independent on each other, but you can do some stuff, doing some tweaks, and get the best out of the equipment that you actually already have. So lighting is one of the most important things. And now you all said, well, why lighting? We are doing like music lessons, so it should be sound. Yeah, but the communication is very important. That's why we are doing the online lessons, and that is why we don't just give out the music sheets. So in order to have like a good communication, you need to see the face, you need to see all the things that you are explaining with hands, but also with mimics and stuff. So here is some really basic things. Avoid getting backlight lighting from a window or a very powerful lighting source directly into the camera. And especially if you're using like webcams or built-in cams within your laptop, they are really, really bad at handling light just through the lens. So be positioned very well and have the lighting going from in front of you and into the face. That's the main advice we'll give here. Then you can, of course, as I mentioned here at bullet point 2, you can help the small lenses, because the smaller the lens is, the less light are able to go within the lens. So the more light we can help the lens with is really going to enhance the quality. And then we're going to maybe overdo it here a little, but we will go through that in our tutorial webinar video lesson at a later point, how you can work with different light sources. Here in the studio, we are actually working with what's called a key light. Over here, we have some fill light over here, and then we also have lighting from the top going on the hair. And that's actually a way of dividing the person from the background. So you will have more like a three-dimensional look to the recording. Do you have to have all that? No, not necessarily, but it really helps, and it does a lot of good things for your recording. You will see that at a later point. I know for sure that one of our great guests today will walk you through what he has done with the lighting setup.
And I think it's important to emphasize, as Stan is saying, well, communication, that students are able to see you, not just a little bit of your face, but a lot of you, the instrument as well. And this is on doing online tuition or doing recordings afterwards is an obvious possibility to actually give the students a chance to view things from another point of view. Because so when you're doing your live tuition, I might be sitting there and my student is sitting here. We're sitting looking at each other, but I need to mirror things as a student. So now suddenly you can give the students a chance to see things directly on your instrument as they would be looking at their instrument themselves. So it's a great way to actually improve from the how it is when you're doing on-site real tuition.
Yeah, exactly. And also the ability for the student to see it over and over again with a detailed view of what you're doing with your hands, with your drumsticks, with your whatever you're doing, playing flute. Dance steps could also be like looking at the feet dancing like step lessons, all kind of stuff. It's really emphasized with using cameras and the right angles.
Yeah. And I also just want to mention again, these things, it's a good thing sharing this with students in advance, or at least if you're still having problems with students sitting in front of a window with the sun coming in, make sure to tell these things for the students so they know in advance. So if they're sitting there with their little iPhone, which is great, but then at least do some the easy fruit picking and make sure that the light is good for them.
Exactly.
Let's move on to sound. And I know, Dan, you can talk for hours about this.
I'll keep it
try to keep it short this time, and then we can do a long one another day.
I'll do my very best. And as Thomas mentioned, we will do tutorials, we will do short videos, guides on all these stuff, all these things we are talking about today. We will do afterwards. We have allocated both time, resources, and everything to do what we think is great walkthroughs, great tutorials on all these things. So I'll just talk about them at a brief here. So, of course, sound is very important, both for the one who are playing the sound and also for the listener. So most solutions have like built-in modeling, and you never see those modeling because it's just built inside. But I'm sure most of you have tried to be within a meeting, Teams meeting, Zoom meeting, whatever, and experience that one of the participants have had really bad sound. And that depends on a lot of stuff. I'm sure you all have experienced that one of the participants' sound would have, like, you have an on-off button, which really made the sound like popping, going on, off. And that's really one of the things that we are talking about later on. That's what's called a noise gate, or a really heavy compression, because that's all built in because Microsoft and Zoom thinks that they know best. And as we have written here, not all works well for music education. So we are taking that into work, and we are trying to explaining how you can improve your sound by having equalization, having all the right frequencies boosted or lowered, depending on the sound source and the microphone and everything. We will try to help you get rid of the room noise or the hissing around your microphone. So when you're not playing, it's completely silent and all that kind of stuff. And we will also talk about compression. And compression is really looking at the dynamics of a soundscape and saying, okay, right now I can play very, very soft or very, very loud, but maybe the connection, again, it's a matter of the internet and Zoom, Teams, all kinds of video transmission software are all doing compression. So why not help the compression by doing it pre-recording? And there's a lot of beneficial ways of doing that, and we will really dig into that later. I have promised not to do it here, but you can see some explanation, and there's like wording going on like kilohertz, threshold, ratio, and all kinds of stuff. I promise you we will bring that down to a level where you all go out of the future session and say, so this is threshold. So it's just that? Really that simple? Yeah, it is really that simple. So we will try to take off all the flowery words and put it down to earth and explain why and how you very easily can improve your sound quality of your streaming or online education. Sure.
And Dan, that's even if you're using a built-in microphone, right?
Yeah.
That you can do quite a lot of things even on your laptop. You don't have to have the big gear set up. You can do a lot of things on there.
We'll look at it at different scales, looking on what you have. We will also come with some suggestions on how you, very cheap, can take your recordings or take your lessons to the next level. And our very great two guests later on will talk, or two of the three guests will talk specifically into that part on their journey on leveling up. And then it's all up to you to jump on the bus and see how many stops you're willing to take.
And no doubt, being a classical percussionist, I know a lot about how I can produce good sound on a triangle with different triangle beaters. But it's a completely other language when Dan starts talking about that stuff. But I did have a little peek. He did do an introduction for me, and it's it makes really good sense. So look forward for the tutorial. We'll put it out in both here in our YouTube channel, but also in SpeedAdmin. We'll put that in, and you're welcome to share that with students as well. So again, so their sound also gets better.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Platforms. Now I think some of you have looked forward to us doing a big comparison of the different platforms here and pronouncing which of them are the best. There's no doubt that this lockdown has really opened up. I don't think a lot of us knew about Zoom in February last year, but everybody pretty much knows Zoom now. The things that happened to Teams in the meantime, it's crazy. And it's really, really different what platform you prefer and what you want to be using. I put SpeedAdmin in here because now in our SpeedAdmin the study planner, we can do live video as well, online tuition. So that was a brand new thing that we had to do here during the lockdown. Say, okay, let's import or let's build in that functionality into our study plan. And our great developers worked quickly and have also kept on developing on this because we thought we were going to do a simple setup. They really kept on creating and adding features to that. So if you tried it out in a year ago or almost a year ago, then it's something completely else now. So it's really, really great. And we're in nice company here. Danish Culture and Music School Leaders Association did a questionnaire last lockdown in the spring and showing, now this is in Danish for you those that don't read Danish, it just shows that Skype, FaceTime, YouTube, Zoom, SpeedAdmin, there's a big mix. A lot of different platforms are being used. So we're going to try to focus on three main platforms here today, which is Zoom, Teams or Skype, pretty much the same thing, and then the SpeedAdmin Study Planner. And as you might see here, we made a little bicycle race because, as I mentioned, there's so much happening and suddenly somebody say, well, Zoom is the best, Zoom is definitely the best. Then suddenly Teams can do the same or more. And then Zoom creates something else or Teams creates something else. And we're just trying to keep up with all these things. So I actually put in SpeedAdmin there as one of the bike riders.
The runner-ups.
Yeah, the runner-ups. So things are just changing all the time. So we kind of gave up on trying to say, well, this is the best, or this is what we recommend, because it's going to be something else tomorrow or next month. But there's some elements there that you should consider. I don't know if you want to say something about that, Dan.
Yeah, I can do that. For sure, we have had a lot of issues in the early days of the Corona lockdown. And the two first bullet points here are accessibility, and the login, download, device, all that kind of stuff. It really needed to be open for all sources, all platforms, mobile platforms, laptops, whatever. And that was really a main concern. And that was actually the reason why we said, well, we need to do it within SpeedAdmin, because here we can secure that everybody can log in, everybody can do we could secure that the file format, the sound, and all that stuff were secured. Then the next demand came, and it was what about the data breach? What about the data storage? What about that and this and that?
Zoom had a real big issue there at some point. You probably heard about that.
I think everyone had. I know we had several different companies taken into consideration of which platform that we might work together with, and actually a lot of them couldn't provide us with a security agreement that was aligned with our responsibility towards all your schools. So really, we went up with 2 companies at last, and we had now teamed up with one of them that was scalable, that was really easy to implement within our platform. And that has been great. We have been GDPR compliant all the way. So that was our main reason. And we have been giving the questions not 1,000 times, but nearly. Why didn't you implement Teams? Why didn't you implement Zoom? And the really easy answer is that they couldn't really give us the security formula. They couldn't guarantee that we were able to store data the right places, that we have full control and all that stuff. So really, that was the main reason. And I know, I'm not mentioning names at all, but I know still some municipalities have closed, let's say, one of their eyes, because it is so blurry, it is so gray-toned, all that is written within the lines. But as Thomas mentioned, also Zoom and Teams worked so hard to get compliant. And I think by today, nearly every platform is more or less compliant. And I know the municipalities around the countries that we are working in have been given some kind of comfort being compliant. So that was really the way into the first 2 bullet points, and why and how we got here.
And you say, just drawing SpeedAdmin a little bit up front, first of all, what was important for us to use easy accessibility. Parents already had a login, a lot of students also did have a login with a study plan. They already have the resources there, so that you don't have to go to a third or a second platform where you don't need to download anything. You have it right there in your SpeedAdmin either, and also we make sure that that was incorporated into the mobile app or on the web version. So that's what was important for us. So easy, you don't need to download anything, you already have an account, you don't need to create anything, which is an issue with both Zoom and Teams, but more or less. So that is important. And then data security, yeah, huge one. Let's not get into that too much more than you said. Sound quality and control. I think Zoom have had the room of being the best for the sound quality and being able to you can do more controls on Zoom. Yeah. I think Teams are catching up a little bit.
They for sure are. Yeah, for sure.
Latency, also Teams and Skype had it was said that they were really bad compared to Zoom. They're much better now. Yeah. And we done some tests on the SpeedAdmin one, really good. Very, very short latency as well now. Yeah. And then features, mirroring, we have all the blurring background, funny things like that. But all in all, make sure that when you decide what platform you're using, and it's perhaps not just one platform, it might be several platforms, that you think about these elements, about featuring might not be that important. Because at the end of the day, you need to quickly get on there, make sure your data is secure, and then be able to use it for what it's all about, sound and picture.
Yeah, and really what is exciting about today's content is that we are trying to narrowing down and said, okay, we have all those platforms. Maybe your municipality have given you one platform that they say you must use. After today's webinar, maybe you will go back and say, great, I have possibilities that were within the other platform because I can now use third-party plugins or third-party software to enhance that. And we will today been talking about a little bit about the software called OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, which actually can do more or less what all the platforms can do together can be done within OBS. So actually, you are not stuck with one platform. You can actually get the most out of any platform now. Also, SpeedAdmin's platform can be like 99% up to date with all platforms. And we will show you some of the glimpses today.
And then, of course, price. No reason mentioning that as well, no. but it is it can quickly turn out to be a discussion about religion, more or less. There's a couple of run-ups here. I just want to mention Jamulus. I didn't know about it, but there was the European Music Association conference 2 weeks ago, and they used Jamulus, which was quite interesting for some of their jam sessions. So it might be worth checking out for some of you. And also, we've been in contact with the Danish Technical University. Or they actually reached out to us, having some talks about how can you do online videos without any latency at all. So, and to be honest, we don't really. It's in the future when we can start traveling with the speed of light.
Yes.
But it's really interesting.
That's exactly the boundary. So we have like the speed of light. So we know for sure that there are connections within the internet going overseas and back, and physically, it's just not doable to have zero latency. But a lot of things are going on. Jamulus is one approach. The Technical University has another approach, which is like hardware solution where you create some kind of closed network. Jamulus is more like software, the software approach, and a lot of things are going on. So we are trying to keep up. We will try to keep you updated by sharing the knowledge that we have been given along the way, and more to come for sure.
And if there's any platform or software that we haven't mentioned that you think is relevant that we talk about, either on another webinar or you just want to mention in the app to highlight for other participants, please write in the chat right away. It's really good that we can share this information. Now, time to go to guests. Sorry, this was a messy slide. Finally, our guests. We're a bit behind. The first guest I have the pleasure of introducing is Suzanne. I've had the pleasure of working quite a lot with Suzanne and the team in Trafford. Great team, implementing SpeedAdmin quite a lot of years ago now. One of the first services in the UK. And they have used, I know SpeedAdmin quite a lot. But please welcome Suzanne Waller. Hello, Suzanne.
You're okay.
And you think you're going to be on screen in just a sec? It's the button crazy here. Hello, Suzanne.
Hey, it's working. Brilliant.
Thank you for taking part today. Very thankful for that. Do you just want to quickly introduce yourself first?
Yep, okay. So I'm a tutor and a manager for Trafford Music Service. That's my principal job, where in management side, I organise our instrumental, tuition, small group and individual in our primary schools and at our music centres. I also have another role for another authority purely as a tutor, so where I'm just being told what to do and no decision making needed. So that's me.
Great. And it's really interesting that you got both hats on here, the management hat as well as the tutor hat or perspectives. So we're looking forward to that. So, Suze, do you just want to do any instructions? How have you handled in Trafford? How have you done with the online tuition? How from the first lockdown and then going through?
I was very pleased to hear you set expectations low, because I'm not a technical. We started out in Trafford. We don't have a great deal of technical expertise. So when the first lockdown, we knew it was coming. We started looking at all the options available to us, and researching as much as we could, speaking to people we knew in other countries that already did online learning, like Australia, where it's much more common because of the distances and things like that. So we were checking out WebEx and doing tests on Skype, on various platforms. But in the end, we did go for Zoom, because we knew that our teachers, our parents, they needed something fairly simple, because obviously they were handling a lot of pressure, homeschooling, the uncertainty. So we decided very early we were going to try and keep as many students as we could and shift them to online with live lessons, live content. To be honest, we didn't even consider recording things. It didn't even occur to us. So we just went straight that we were going to be doing live lessons. So we spent our Easter holidays last year writing guidance as much as we could, probably not to the level you're going to talk about later, about how to avoid delays and about where to position your cameras, things like that for students. But essentially we wanted something that was really simple for parents. They didn't need an account if they didn't want it. They could just click and follow a link. So for us, we found Zoom, for that side of it, really straightforward for them, because we just wanted as many to find it as easy as possible and to be able to communicate that to them, that it wasn't going to be something that caused them stress, that children could do it if they needed to. So that's why we went with Zoom in the end. And largely it's worked really well. We did retain an awful lot of students. There's the problems that hopefully you're going to help us improve on later on, over sound, the extremes on dynamics and pitch, that we've still not quite overcome, although it is improving with every update they do. But we were able to, although we started out with our tuition being just small group and it's not great for anything bigger than twos, that's a challenge, but we have used it for our ensembles. We've done a live concert that we were able to. The advantage was there was very little cost to schools compared to getting buses coming to a venue. So normally we'd only be able to have a couple of thousand in a venue at once of our whole class tuition playing along with us, but we've broadcast to thousands of our students via Zoom live, but that was a much bigger tech setup. With mixing desks and microphones and stuff like that. But so we principally use Zoom. Our teachers have had to use Google Classrooms and Teams, whatever, when they're doing their curriculum work, whatever the schools do. But for our own teaching, our own instrumental teaching in ensembles, we've gone with Zoom, with the breakout rooms options and stuff like that. So that's how we've used Zoom.
Yeah. And when we talked about accessibility, how do you get it out there at the Zoom? Now this is your Zoom lesson. You might know what I'm fishing for.
So this is more what I can talk about very happily for days, but I won't. Your study planner has been a lifesaver for us. I'm hoping that most people watching are familiar with SpeedAdmin, at least, but if not, the study planner is part of the student administration system that allows communication and a sharing, a learning platform contained within SpeedAdmin, where tutors and students and parents can access communications and materials that we create and add to that. So prior to lockdown, we hadn't used Study Planner at all. I think it was pretty new. Yeah. And we perhaps would still not be using it if we hadn't had a need for it. And I'm very thankful we have, because as a manager, with my manager hat on, previously, we managed everything centrally. Our tutors didn't manage their timetables, they didn't communicate with parents, and it's still the case that we don't allow any personal communication, any personal emails, personal mobiles to be shared. And with the setup we've got on SpeedAdmin, they still don't need to do that, because they could arrange their Zoom, send their links via the chat function, and because everyone's times were so challenging, children were in school, they weren't in school, and it was the same for teachers and parents, so they were able to just send their reoccurring links straight through the chat. If something changed, they could do that because we had it switched on to two-way. So for that side of it, we could just leave them to manage it themselves, because it just wouldn't have been possible for us to do that centrally. So the chat function of the study planner is great. Another thing it allows is, because one of the downsides of live, any of the platforms, Zoom, Skype, any of them, is the sound quality. What it allows is, through the chat function, for myself as a teacher, I've been getting the children to record, especially the high level ones where I need to know how the dynamics are doing, to record it, and they can attach it to me. Or if they've done some theory homework, I can mark it and they can attach it and I can view it that way. So the chat function is great for communication both ways. We've seen the other feature is the actual ability to create resources and share that with our students. So in the study planner, you can create a library of materials, and as a teacher, I wouldn't have ever really, it would all be paper. If I'm giving out music, I might occasionally have recorded them something and sent it to them, but it was fairly long-winded, and I often was doing things multiple times because I wouldn't remember if I'd created it or saved it or whatever. So the advantage of a study planner is I can have schemes of work, I can point them to links to YouTube. If I've got a YouTube channel, I can just direct them straight to that. I can share PDFs with them. I can quickly record things, but then I can save it as a permanent bit of material in my library. And for another student on that same piece or doing the same area, I can just then assign it to them, and they can access really quickly the material they've been using. So the library function on it is great, because we do, for beginners, for example, we have schemes of work. So it means going forwards, we can just assign it to them. So hopefully eventually they'll still have physical books, but we can add additional things, backing tracks that you can access and things like that. So that's been brilliant for improving interaction between ourselves and our students, and the parents have been really engaged. So there's been a big jump in abilities that they've managed to do, and largely that is because of that two-way communication we can now do, and interaction. We can put our notes on, practice notes, so there's no excuse that they can't remember what to do, or they've lost them, or the books have stayed in their bags. So the three elements have been great for improving, making jumps and improvements in their ability, but also engagement as well, I think.
So you're saying that the parents actually gets more engaged because they can easily access the information. They don't just put their students into a room with a teacher, and the students come back and say, I don't know what you've been working on, and I have no idea what you will be working on. But now they can of course, see a little bit of the tuition, but they can also see the resources afterwards, so they get engaged more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's absolutely no excuses that they don't know what to practice. And the parents before, we would have been just our tutors and myself. I'm quite often just the flute lady. They don't know who I am, but because they're communicating now, they're seeing what their kids are doing. We're people to them, and they can understand more about what's going on in lessons. So it's not just something that takes place in school and they never see what's going on. It's just hugely improved the relations with parents, and I can see a lot of advantages going forward. We haven't been able to hold parents' meetings for quite a few years, just logistically. So there's the options for better for arranging parents' meetings and reviews and things like that. So, yeah.
Interesting. And so the tech part, how do you see your teachers? Have they been very different in what they done technically? Have they had very different setup? Somebody with a very simple setup and others with a really developed or complicated setup. What's your experience there?
So yeah, exactly like you say, we've got tutors of all ages, all backgrounds, all abilities. What they've got access to technologically wise at home. Some people might just have been trying to do it on their phones. Some people might have laptops and multiple screens, Macs, who knows. But we haven't had a single one, even people who struggle opening a spreadsheet or something like that normally, we've not faced a challenge. Certainly not with a study planner, and they weren't used to using it. They only used SpeedAdmin before for registering. They didn't arrange their own timetables or anything like that. I haven't had a single query really about how to use the study planner. It's been very simple, and parents occasionally, I think the only reluctance from parents is just the idea of logging into something. It's not the using it, it's just the effort of logging in. But that's the same with anything. And it's the same, that's the same reason we went for Zoom. We did our guides and what settings they should put, switch off everything they possibly can. We needed that simplicity, and it's worked for us. We've had gradually more and more students come and have lessons online during the time.
Does that mean that you think you're going to keep on doing some more online, or what are some of the experience that you're going to bring on? So post COVID, what are you going to bring into that?
Certainly in the immediate future, most of our learning, thankfully, is going to be back in person, but there are reluctances, so we are still going to be doing online. Our ensembles are going to be doing a mix of in-person. Those who don't want to attend will be Zooming in, as it were, or will be holding separate lessons. Long term, I think it offers us great potential to offer for those who can't access lessons in person. Perhaps they're ill, they can't come along. We're certainly going to be still holding our massive big concerts, having a few of them online, just because of the savings for schools accessing them. That's going to stay. And the study planner, adding resources, that's definitely going to be something I can't see any reason for us to ever stop using that, because because even when you're back in person, I'm going to want to share materials with my students. I've got them all saved now. At the start of lockdown, I might have been spending hours a week creating them because they just weren't there. But now they're there. Hopefully, it's only when something new comes up, I can just keep pointing them, and hopefully they'll look at them. But I can't see a reason we wouldn't be using the study planner. The advantage of our live lessons going forwards is we've had a tutor, for example, who left us, moved to Belgium, and has been able to carry on teaching for those parents who wanted to carry on having lessons with him. So they were happy to carry on online, even when there is an in-person option. They want to stay with that tutor, so he can carry on working for us. So the world is our oyster, as it is.
Exactly. Corona has done a lot of terrible things, but it's really also opened up the world, no doubt. Oh, great. Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thank you. I just want to emphasize, we haven't paid Suzanne for talking so warmly about the study planner. Thank you so very much, and we're so grateful for all the feedback you've given us throughout this period, and thank you for joining us today.
I'm looking forward to the technical details next. I've got my pen at the ready.
Great, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Perfect. That was Suze from Trafford Music Service, and you can follow, by the way, on Twitter at Music in Trafford. Some of the great activities they're doing. Sounds like with more online content as well. That's a good place to keep up to date with them. So on Twitter at Music in Trafford. Now the next guest is Mads. We had Mads visit us in our first inspiration webinar. He's a drum teacher in Åbenrå and Haderslev, and he's done a lot of setup things here. So now we're going to have a chance to look a bit further into that. So please welcome Mads, and I'm going to let Dan take over here with that one.
Hey, Mads, welcome.
Thank you so much.
And the sound is all good at your place? It should be,
Yeah,
with
I
all
think so.
those,
Yeah.
with all that equipment.
What are you talking about?
What? Yeah, nice to see you back, Mads. Very nice.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah,
Can I
as
see you, by the way? I can't see you here.
You
Don't know
can
why.
see us. We will try here. You should be able to see us, but you actually should be able to see us, Mads. But you aren't.
We're smiling, Mads.
We're
Not
smiling.
really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have the live chat here, but
Okay. Yeah. Maybe something is lacking within Teams. Shouldn't be possible, but maybe it is.
that's why I use Zoom.
I
Exactly.
was going to say we should have done this in SpeedAdmin tool.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, Studyplanner.
Oh yeah, never mind. But as we promised last time, Mads, we would look in a bit deeper on your technical journey, your technical setup, the obstacles that came along the way, and also your way of finding solutions and exploring ideas along the way. So I know, as we talked about yesterday at the code run, we could talk about this for hours. As Thomas mentioned, you have several SoMe channels, and you have given us permission to say that all of you guys seeing or following along, you're welcome to write Mads on his SoMe channels about detailed stuff and about further explanations. We are also, as mentioned earlier, we are also coming with some tutorials and for sure some of the things that Mads will walk us through would be embedded also in those tutorials. So I really don't know where to start, Mads, but can you take us just briefly along the journey? Just maybe sound-wise or video-wise, it's up to you. And maybe dive into some of the greatest benefits or the greatest wow experiences that you have had along the way.
Yeah. Well, for starters, I started collecting gear a few years ago, so this is not an upscaling from zero. This is just I'm just using whatever is at my hands, so it doesn't have to be this complicated. But mainly I teach drums, and the problem here is the immense sound pressure of the instrument, and then on the other hand, I have to talk to the students, so I can't just turn down the volume. So right now I've just bought this headset. I look like somebody at an airport or something. But I've been using a few different microphones. This one, and actually the same one I have on the hi-hat here, a pencil microphone, which was in my face right in front of me. I was getting kind of scared to knock out my teeth. And then on the other hand, I still have this one switched on, so I can really go close with this one. But then again, I have to hold it. I have to use a hand for that. So I decided to invest in a great headset, and now I have great sound, and it's isolated from the microphone, which, well, it doesn't cause feedback. And that's actually the greatest investment yet, except for the video side. But other than this heavy sound equipment, the journey began with, a year ago, just like for everyone. And I was starting to feel gray hairs coming out of my head. But I thought for a beginning I would like to exchange videos with my students. That was the first idea, because I thought then I can control the sound. My greatest fear was this event where I was live streaming and the whole lesson would go with me having to, plug in and plug out cables, and the sound wouldn't get through to me or from me, or yeah. So I was dispatching videos via, I think it was Dropbox, every student would get a separate link and a separate folder with videos. And yeah, that solution was the first one, and it kind of went in two scales. I went from using one camera and I fed the audio into the camera, and I had to take it out on an SD card and get it into the computer, convert the video, upload to Zoom, the Dropbox, and then send the link for the folder. Very complicated, actually. And then I went over to using OBS as a video recording device, and then I could implement more cameras. And I slowly learned to control the sound, but still it was the video exchange. It wasn't that good a communication platform. So that went on. I think I started using OBS in April. We shut down in March. That was the single camera period. And then started using OBS until we were permitted to get back in the music school. Then over the summer, we were still permitted to teach. I think we shut down in, I think it was December, and then I actually started live streaming via Zoom. I just decided to use Zoom. That my nightmare was to just sit and let the students dictate which platform I had to use. So I just wrote a collective email via SpeedAdmin, actually, with a detailed description for how to go to Zoom and join a Zoom meeting and setting up the audio and all that, which has also been a learning curve, an ongoing learning curve. But the video signal was actually fed through the webcam in my MacBook, and it's a 2012 MacBook. It's not a very good webcam. I don't want to show it right now, but yeah. And then I was using a pretty nice, neat little app on my phone, which allows my phone to become a webcam, a wireless webcam for the computer. And it's called Epoch Cam. I think it's owned by Elgato, the Stream Deck manufacturer, and they.
Yeah, exactly. We have that one inside the SpeedAdmin studio.
Oh yeah.
So we are using the Elgato Stream Deck. I can't unfortunately show it right now, but they do a lot of great stuff. They also do it like capturing devices between cameras and laptops, like from an HDMI to USB. They do all kind of great stuff for gamers. I think they began as a gamer manufacturer, access blah blah something. But really they have become more dug into also live streaming.
I think they have a solid crowd in gaming.
Oh yeah, they have.
And actually they've been pretty progressive, and the Stream Deck that you can buy, kind of a keyboard with hotkeys, so you can, just toggle commands at your fingertips. It's pretty neat, and they've actually made a software version which you can, it's a subscription app. It's called just Stream Deck. It's actually pretty neat. I've been using it for the first part of my video streaming game when I got that going on. For recording in the Zoom session, you can just record the session and stop it, and then when you quit the session, it'll just convert the video into a neat. There we have the Stream Deck.
Just wanted to show you. I'll just do a little life hack here. And actually, you can see the studio we are standing in here. So we have the Stream Deck with all the buttons. So here we can go to like this one. Then you will see like a different stuff, and you can go all kind of macros. So exactly. It's great tools. Yeah,
and that's a 1,000 kroner device.
I think you're right. You can
actually just rent the application or subscribe for the application and just pay for it on a weekly basis for, I think, 17 kroner or €2 or something like that. So I went for that. And then
when
it
was called Delgado, so wireless ePOC.
Elgato. ELGATO.
The app is called Epoch Cam.
Yeah, Epoch. Yeah.
Epoch Cam.
I think it goes with a light version for free.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Or you can buy the Pro. It's
Otherwise,
not that expensive.
We'll try to put in the link and further information in the description afterwards. Great.
Yeah. So that was that's a pretty fast expansion of the angles. Then you have if you have a computer, you can connect the phone, and in my case, I think I had it from up here, or I had it from behind here. And well, the downside is that you have to reach a keyboard or something. I think I made a button for the Stream Deck actually, but I kind of wanted something more, and the digital video thing was kind of heavy for my 2012 MacBook Pro. It's an old one. But then I thought, well, this I have to take it higher here for my own sake. And again, it's a great tool. This one you have already talked about it, I think, the ATEM Mini from Blackmagic.
Yeah.
Right now I have the keys at my fingertips here. I can switch keys. I have my main camera, and I have the back camera, and from the top, and then I just added the camera for my feet, and then actually I can do the picture-in-picture thing.
Exactly. Yeah, from the ATEM Mini, and that's a company. Just shift here, just short moment. That's a company called Blackmagic. They do all kinds of stuff. They have just released the new ATEM Mini Extreme series, which has the ability to record or stream 8 cameras at a time. We will do a tutorial and we will do a presentation on that one later. We have that actually in the studio. We also begun with the ATEM Mini with 4 inputs, as you have, Mads, and it gives a lot of opportunities. Actually, before we move on, we have got a question here in the chat.
Yeah, we should mention that the chat hadn't really been updating here, but it was just really great. I want to run through the chat. It's really great to see how you're answering each of the questions.
Oh,
it's amazing,
fantastic.
really. Thumbs up. Cool.
Yeah.
But go ahead with the question.
Yeah, the question was like, could you have the Stream Deck helping you changing scenes within OBS instead of buying the ATEM? And actually, yes, you can. The Stream Deck has all kinds of embedded features. If you buy this the ATEM Mini, it connects. It will see the ATEM Mini, and it already has all the buttons that it creates buttons that are similar to all the functionalities within the ATEM Mini. So easily you can put like start stream, shift, blah, 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 and you can do the same in OBS. Actually, it has a lot of Windows buttons. So you can actually, if you have a lot of things you have to open within Windows, you can create what they call a macro and then record with the mouse on the screen, opening, zoom, doing this, doing that. So just with a hit of a button, it plays what you have recorded. So you can have the Stream Deck opening all your application and blah, 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 stuff like that. So a lot of things is done with the Stream Deck. It's actually just near magic. It is really a great tool. Yeah. Yeah, back to you, Mads. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, sure. I just want to add to that because there's another app called Touch Portal, and it actually I used it before I used the Elgato Stream Deck, and Touch Portal is for free, and I think it's pretty good with OBS. It's not that good with Zoom, and I think I had it running on my old iPad. It's pretty slow, but it runs Touch Portal very good. So that's just another thing. And other than that, there's the OBS camera. I think it's also Yeah, it's for OBS.
Yeah, and
so you can do the same thing as with the Epoch Cam.
Exactly. I should just mention, and also we have a very great watching eyes of Anna Helgadottir, som siger, at there's actually a plug-in to OBS that you can use on your iPad. And yeah, I was just about to mention that, but you did, Mads. So you can actually have a plug-in going outside the Stream Deck or getting the Stream Deck getting nearly the same things done with the Stream Deck inside the app. Again, it's a way of if you want to be like, if the app is okay, then it's okay. But if you want to be flexible, having other parts controlled, sound card, blah blah blah, then the Stream Deck is totally open to configuration. But thanks, Anna. It's a great iPad plugin or app that actually can control a lot of things within OBS. So yeah, back to you, Mads.
Yeah. Yeah, there are so many hacks and so many ways to do this.
Oh yeah, really.
Yeah. So regarding my upscaling hardware solution, I went with buying a few cameras. And obviously you have to, when you have the ATEM Mini, you have to connect analog signals to it. It's HDMI cabling. So it has my model, not the yours is a Mini, but there's nothing Mini about it then.
No, really.
But the ATEM Mini, I have the absolutely smallest one. It goes for 2,000 kroner ish, 2,500 kroner, I think.
Yeah, right.
And it really does the job for me. But the hardware is it has HDMI cabling on the back. I think I can put it out here. I don't think if you can. Can you see it here? No, it's just black.
We can see a little. It's the one with the red light and a lot of other buttons. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I can control the camera angles here, and the picture-in-picture thing. And here I have, it has two sound inputs, and right now I'm just using headphones out from my sound rack, which is the animal behind me.
Exactly.
And it's just a headphones input. And actually I'm just mirroring the sound from my headphones into the ATEM Mini. So other than the sound from you guys.
Just asking, as now the triangle guy is asking a question here. Do you have to have a monster like that behind? Do you need such a big thing?
Well, as I said before, I have things at my hands. So
yeah.
Actually, you can. I have a smaller mixer here, which is pretty good for the purpose.
I don't have a mixer like that, and I can't buy that. But they could really go with a much smaller, simpler mixer.
Yeah. Dan and I talked about it yesterday, and I have a smaller mixer here, it's a Yamaha MG10XU, which means it's the MG series, and it has 10 inputs, and it's with an effect processor, and the U stands for USB connection. So you can actually use it as an audio interface for the computer, which is it's the thing I have behind me here. It's an audio interface, and these are all the microphone preamplifiers.
Exactly.
And
if I'm not wrong,
units.
If I'm not wrong, Mads, I think that the MG series of Yamaha has some kind of easy compression on the first two channels or something. Isn't that right? Or the first channel? It has like easy, yeah.
Exactly, and it has phantom power, and it has a pad function. So
exactly.
For instance, the condenser mics often need to have the input lowered a bit because they send a very powerful signal into the mixer.
Exactly.
And then you have to, it's called a pad function. It just takes down the volume a few decibels.
Exactly.
So, well, the biggest issue here is that you can't really separate the audio from the computer into the computer again. Well, when the sound goes into the mixer, you can't really separate the audio, or what do you call it? Take it away from the output, really. So you'll create a loop there.
Yeah, unless you have the ability to use like an aux or a bus, and I'm not sure that that the mixer, I don't know if it has like a bus or an auxiliary output, the MG. But yeah, we will come back to that actually, where you can split the signal, or where you can route some of your listening input. It could be like a backing track. It could be your output, where you only want something to go out on the stream. You want something be routed to another outboard, your monster behind you. But that, you need different highways called buses or mix buses or auxiliary sends. And we will dig deeper into that on another webinar. We will have some tutorials done there, but you're completely right, Mads. All this streaming is creating most of the time a loop where you record yourself, and then you will have the feedback, the high tones that everyone for sure have experienced within this Corona lockdown in Teams, or if you are two persons in the same room, you will have the feedback, and it's just like it's just unbearable to your ears, and that
which becomes the echo in the online situation. Because of the delay all the time.
Exactly. So it can be
that would be a feedback signal.
Exactly. So it's very disturbing. So yeah. And really, that's where it gets technical, because you have to like route and you have to interfere with the one-knob play ready to go stuff. And I think that has been an obstacle for, I think, many people, because they have experienced what you said, Mads, that they have like latency, or they're hearing themselves, and it's so disturbing. You can't concentrate because you're hearing yourself, and you are talking slower. Actually, if you were in the first webinar, we were not really 100% equipped in the studio, so my headphones were actually both. It was looping. So if you hear when I talk on the first webinar, you will see my eyes, my brain, millimeters of exploding, because I was hearing myself. It's very disturbing. Yeah.
That was the nightmare situation I was describing before. Great, you experienced that.
I have done several times, but now we are giving the advantages of having like wireless in-ears, where we can have and we can split the streaming signal, and we can split what we are talking about right now and have it all synchronized. That's a whole nother story. Not for today.
There's actually a really good question in the chat here. That's they want to hear that, Rick, and also so they know what the students. And I really, as a drummer, really want to hear that, Rick, as well. Yeah. So could you give us just an introduction of it? How would the students experience things, and how also perhaps how you're using the microphone with the voice and other microphones with the drum, so we can kind of get an experience how that's working.
Yeah. I just want to introduce a point on the sound in and sound out thing.
Yeah, great.
Right now, I'm running all of the sound going into the computer via the AT Mini, which has been Then I've sorted your signal out from the mix, done inside here, and so you're getting the sound in. But on the computer, I'm using the headphones as an output, and I can do that from Microsoft Teams, actually. It's pretty neat, because you don't have to use you can actually have two outputs. You can have a system output, and you can have a chat output. In Zoom or in Microsoft Teams, you can just pick an output. So I have a cord going from the computer into two inputs over here. That is the computer that's the chat sound I'm getting here, and you're not getting. And then the sound is going in through the USB connection to the AT Mini. That's just a thing to mind. Exactly. So the sound that the students are hearing. Right now, I've just implemented this little switch down on the floor. I don't know. Can you see it? It's a small.
Yeah.
Has a light on it.
Yeah, it's a
So
small
it's
blue
actually
one.
a mic. Yeah, it's a Rolls mic switch, MS111. So I can actually turn off the mic here. So now my headset is off, and I'm just using the handheld mic.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can turn it on again. So the difference between hearing the kit with the mic I'm using on the headset is this. So it's pretty sharp, right?
Yeah.
If I turn it off, and I'm not really holding back. It's just I can beat the heck out of these drums, and it'll not really be that much of a signal, unless I forget to switch this one off.
Exactly. Then you will have what they call bleed. So it would just be like interfering with your voice equalization or your voice modeling. So yeah. Really nice. Actually, we have a great question here. Sorry, Mads. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been I was using the pencil microphone in front of me, and it really picks up a lot. It helps to get this one a bit closer, and then I can breathe into it.
Yeah.
And no, I can just get it close and turn the volume a bit down. I need to tweak that.
Yeah.
But I'll just take it a bit away again. But yeah, it's been kind of a relief to get this gooseneck mic, so I can get it really close and have it close all the time. I can count and play, and it won't really, you can still hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And yeah. So back to the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's really a question here. Do you have to sync the external sound with the ATEM Mini, or does it do that by itself?
I've synced it, and I've created, the ATEM Mini comes with a software program. It allows you to, set the delay of the sound. And actually, I invited a friend to the chat, and he was using the ATEM Mini already. So he said, well, now it's there, and I think I delayed it with 5 milliseconds or something like that. So I don't know how it works right now, but
it works.
That's the main setup I use.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. And yeah, you will have to do some tweakings here and there because, of course, the sound, also when it's been processed, because within the controller software for the ATEM, you actually also have the ability to do like an EQ, compression, noise gate, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the more you put into the signal, the more delayed the signal because it has to be processed. So yeah, it's really post-processing, delay, time adjustment. That's the key to success, to have it all synchronized.
Oh, now the learning curve just goes up again. I forgot to resync it because I've been making adjustments too.
Yeah, exactly. But we will dig deep into that on another webinar or some of our tutorials, because yeah, it's right, Mads. Every time you tweak, you must be aware of the output or the master output. We'll take you by the hand of this one.
And I'm afraid we have to. I would probably just cut in.
Yeah.
Because I know you could keep on talking for a long time, but we're actually past 12, and we still have another guest.
Yeah, we do.
So, but I think we can bring in Mads another day, perhaps, as well. Yeah, that would be great. Or some in the tutorials we can have a further look. It was really great seeing Mads. Amazing. Even I understood some of it.
It's fantastic, Mads. Once again, thank you so much for your time. What you guys out there don't know is that that Mads, two other guys, and I are about to plan some kind of jam. It's 4 municipalities that have gone together in some kind of culture partnership. So I'm actually seeing Mads in only a few days. So excited to open the jam possibility when everything is allowed. So For sure, Mads. We will get nerdy outside the stream.
Until then, we want an online jam. Yeah, bring it on, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Come on. That's our next webinar. Online jamming.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you
so much.
Coffee and geeking out.
Yeah, big high five to you.
Thank you so much for participating, and thank you for all the things you're doing for the music education and keeping the music playing. Amazing. Thanks a lot.
See ya.
My pleasure. See ya.
Bye.
And just before we get the next guest, I think I'm just going to answer a couple of questions because the chat hadn't been updated, so we're a bit behind with some questions. And there was some question for the study plan actually in SpeedAdmin. So if we can just get that one in.
We can do that.
Yeah, perfect. Great. So here we have the SpeedAdmin study plan in a test school here. And I got Daniel Philipson doing lessons with me and all my studies here, which you can see is that could be streaming directly. Make sure that, so that's a little input. Don't just put in the link because that just moves them away from SpeedAdmin into YouTube and then they kind of disappear suddenly watching all kind of other weird videos. Put it merge it in here by taking the link from the play button in YouTube. And then you can have your PDFs and so forth, all of the information. There were some questions about how can I do studies that I can also use in another school? And that's actually not possible right now, but it's something that we're working on very hard and definitely will make sure that soon is possible. And the feedback that we got from you guys in the chat, will bring that to the development so they can, try to see if they can prioritize that, because I can see that makes super good sense that a lesson that you make one place in one SpeedAdmin school, you want to be using in another place. Of course, a workaround could be if you do some recordings, have it on a hidden channel in YouTube, and then you can link to the same recording in different schools. Then that's more simple, it's quick to create. But no doubt it will be possible at some point, and also even sharing from service to service. And I'll just quickly, while we're in here, that's where you got the live video, if you got that running. If you don't have it, it's something that your music service will ask for to get started, where you can do online meetings here. Let's not get us started on that one. That you can see in some other webinars we got lying in, and also in our help form if you want to dive more into that. That was the questions about the study plan, I think. So now the next person we got the pleasure of introducing. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can hook up with Mads on Facebook, as mentioned, as well, as you mentioned, Dan. The next person is Thomas, and Thomas Lyng Poulsen is a guitar teacher and a freelance musician as well in Slagelse and Allerød Musik and Culture School. And we came across Thomas because he tagged us on Instagram, where you can hook up with Thomas if you want to. And he tagged us when he did a setup where he was using the SpeedAdmin study planner, along with some of all the functionalities as well that we also saw from Mads. And we did a little research, found out, he also got a website, which you're more than welcome to visit as well, classic-guitar.dk. But now, in live, I can introduce, with a little bit of delay, Thomas. Welcome, Thomas, and thank you for being part of this today.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Do you want to start out just doing a short introduction about yourself, Thomas?
Sure, yeah. I studied classical guitar, and during my studies I had to not be too vocal about also playing electric guitar in front of my teachers, because they thought my technique would hurt. But after graduating, I have embraced my duality, and I'm also a cover band musician, and play a lot of electric guitar, and I sing. And over the years, I've become the sound guy for my band. So an integral part of my home setup now is actually the mixer that we use live, because it's also an audio interface, which means that I can use that. And that enables me to, as Mads talked about, having a monitor feed to my ears that won't create a feedback loop, because I'm using an aux channel for returning the computer audio to my ears, while still being able to hear myself from the microphones that I have around me. So, but of course, the past year, most of my time has been dedicated to online teaching, and I've been engaging with various online communities where I have been able to upgrade my technical knowledge and I will be showing a bit of my journey, where I've come from, and how I've gotten to where I am now, because I started very bare bones when the first lockdown hit, as all of us did probably.
Great. Well, let's just get that journey started, Tom. I think it's nice to hear that there's hope for us classical educated people, that we can still get to understand and embrace all the technical opportunities that's lying out there. I'm happy to hear that, so I can work on that with my triangle. But definitely, take us through. I know you prepared, so we can kind of show you where you started out and what you built on and what you've done with that.
Exactly. I just have to tweak a few settings here, but I started out, sorry, wrong button. I started out looking like this. This is the onboard camera from my laptop. I did have microphones in front of me. I've recorded by now 2 albums in this room, in my home studio. So I did have some quite nice mics set up, and using the audio interface. So the audio in was all right, but I looked like this, which is not very good. Actually, in the beginning, I looked like this. And 1 year free, because in the beginning I hadn't set up the monitor send. So to be able to hear my own acoustic guitar, I had to have 1 year off and look ridiculous. And then one day I by accident or just coincidence, I had my live in-ear monitors on instead of the big cans, which I was thinking I need good sound for myself, so I'm going to use the studio headphones. But I noticed right away that the students responded better to me when I was wearing the in-ears, because I just look different than what I do in person when I'm wearing the big cans. So that instantly removed a communication obstacle between us. And that was a bit of a eureka moment for me. So I've been doing that consistently since that day, because it was just such an obvious difference. And then I had a video making course one day with some of my colleagues and a good instructor who repeatedly told us to look into the camera, which also makes communications feel much more personal, even though we still only have this squared part of each other's rooms to look at, and not the whole body language. But looking at the camera really makes a difference. And I immediately, when I started consciously thinking about looking at the camera, I immediately felt students respond better to what I was saying.
I got a question there, Thomas, because we had a question earlier in the chat with the glasses, reflections from glasses. You and you're wearing glasses, so perhaps you have noticed something like that, or have some thoughts about it.
Well, as you can see, I have not found the solution. I don't have the solution. Sometimes I remember to point my glasses a bit downward and look at the camera from there, but it's not ideal because too much thought needs to go into that. And as a musician, I've been in photo sessions where photographers have had me look at the camera from weird angles, exactly to get rid of the glare from the glasses. So I'm not sure there is a good solution to that, actually.
There are tweaks and there are tries, but since you're not like statically sitting and just looking static in the camera, you will always have the glare in some way. So yeah. But I have noticed it, and we will try to maybe have some ideas and tweaks in another episode of those.
Interesting.
Webinars. Yeah.
Well, and then when we had a prep meeting for this webinar, we had a talk about some of the little life hacks that I've discovered along the way, and it's all been. As with the in-ears and as with the camera, it's all been quite coincidental, and I discovered things along the way. But I found out quite early on that when I sat with the guitar, if I needed to show something, it was quite annoying to have to, get closer to the camera with the guitar and try to find an angle. So I wanted to have several camera angles. And the day that the camera switch button appeared in the study planner on SpeedAdmin, I was on it like a hawk, and I went online and I bought 3 identical webcams to get 3 different angles. Turns out identical webcams and the Google Chrome browser don't quite agree, but I got to a point where I had my face camera, which was the bad onboard camera, and one of the webcams working, which I then set up so that I could show my left-hand fingerings. So that was a big help. And then yesterday we had a prep meeting for this, and you guys said, well, you should be able to use OBS because I have done some live streaming on other platforms dedicated to live streaming. Some Tuesdays I have a Twitch practice stream where I just practice and people come and watch. For some reason they found that interesting. I have had some setups in OBS that have worked well for me, but I couldn't find a way to integrate them into the study planner until yesterday when Dan told me that, well, I should be able to do it. Then I thought I have to figure out why I couldn't. And it turns out it's a matter of opening up programs in the right order. If OBS is open first and then Chrome is opened afterwards, OBS owns all the webcams and I can switch like I want. The switching I'm doing now is done in OBS. So now I have a 3-camera setup, so I can have a right-hand focused camera and a left-hand focused camera and my face cam going on at the same time. Yes, one moment. What do I have now? Well, it doesn't matter. But one thing that some people might find interesting is the way that I use screen sharing in the study planner. Because I've discovered that the most hated browser of them all, Microsoft Edge, is actually quite a nice tool when teaching online because it has some features that I might show you all, if I remember how.
Yeah, and we hope that you are just as curious that we were when we talked to Thomas first time, because this is really where you want to stick to the screen and pay notice. This is really the life hack of the day, Thomas. So I'll give you the full screen now.
All right. Yeah, when I'm screen sharing and the sheet music that you're seeing now is in Microsoft Edge. And the reason why I've wound up using that for my PDF showing is the annotation tool. Because one of the problems that I had was that it was difficult to say, well, could you play from bar 7? No, the next one. No. We spent a lot of time figuring out where I wanted them to play from. But in Edge, I can just do like this, and they know what I want them to do. And then I figure out that pressing Control and using a mouse, I have a mouse down here by my right hand on a cajon. When I scrolled and pressed Control, I could zoom in and out, but having a mouse in one hand and using the keyboard, wireless keyboard over here with my left hand, I had to let go of the guitar. My guitar interface that I use when I teach electric guitar has the option of doing modifiers or doing hotkeys as a foot pedal. So I'm still holding my guitar in one hand here, and now I'm pressing with my foot, and I can zoom in on the music and make very, very sure that the student knows where I want them to play from. And as they play, I can even press another pedal with my feet, which is a shift modifier, and then I can scroll sideways using the mouse scroll wheel.
So your foot is a shift, and then you can just go ahead and use the mouse. Yeah. So you don't need to have your toes on the keyboard.
No, I don't have my toes on the keyboard, no.
It's both the shift and the control. It's two different pedals. And for sure, in just give me 2 seconds, we will have someone asking in the chat, what pedal is it that you're using, Thomas? We want to know. And this is not advertising, but of course you're allowed to tell what pedal you use. And
Yeah, it's the Line 6 Helix LT, which is well, it's a guitar modeler, so it's an amp, it's an interface, and when playing live, that's all I have. I don't bring an amp on stage anymore. I just have 2 XLRs running to the mixer, and then that's my guitar sound.
Exactly. And actually, I got so inspired from your life hack that I have written down on my to-do to find out if other floorboards have the same ability, because I'm sure we're not talking about MIDI controlling. We are talking about real hotkeys within the USB connection, right, Thomas?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So when I set up some of my pedals down here for hotkeys, it starts acting like a typing keyboard.
Exactly.
On those two foot presses, they even have presets so you can control your DAW, your
exactly.
Recording program directly from your feet. Of course, the more hotkeys you program into it, the fewer options you have for actually switching guitar sounds, which is the primary function of it. So you have to balance things out. But I have 3 basic guitar sounds programmed in. Get the old Squire Strat. If it'll play. Should I turn off the wireless? Maybe I did. Yeah, here we are. So I have fairly clean and slightly hairy. And then I have...
Now we are talking.
Yeah.
Screaming leads at my feet also when I play. And all of this is not running through any speakers. It's just running directly into my mixer and audio interface, doing that while still being itself connected by USB so I can use the hotkey functions. So this is a bit of a Frankenstein setup that I've built up over time. As I said, I started with almost nothing and I've built up gradually to this. I have, for the past year, been in contact with an American composer who used to play classical guitar, but he hurt his right hand, so he can't perform his own pieces anymore. And I'm at the moment recording his pieces and shooting videos for them that we are putting online on YouTube. And a guy in an audio engineering forum saw one of the videos and said, you should get a box light to make your videos better. And then after getting the box light, I haven't had it turned on while being in this room at all, because it's brilliant for online teaching as well. As you said, online teaching is communication, and good visuals is just one less distraction between teacher and student. So when I turn this off, I'm still fairly well lit because I have a window in front of me and I have the ceiling light behind me. But as soon as I turn on the box light over here, I get 3-point lighting, as you discussed in the opening. And it's quite cheap. It's 159 Danish kroner, 79 maybe Danish kroner. So that'll be 18 pounds and $70 or something like that.
And 2,000 Swedish crowns.
Exactly. So it's quite a cheap option that really upgraded my whole setup here drastically and made me look better. Well, my looks are what they are, but but the quality
you're all good
of the reproduction of my looks is better. So yeah, I think that got a bit rambly, but I've said a lot of stuff at least.
There's a question about the...
Yeah, there is actually a question, and I had exactly the same thought, because we have, again, Anna Helgadottir. I think we will have to be in contact with you. Anna, you seem like a very technical, interested person also, so great. Anna is asking, is it possible to use the page flip Firefly? And that was exactly what I would look into. All those page turners for OnSong or for other applications was actually one of the things that I think maybe could solve the problem if you're not into buying like the Helix stuff, which, by the way, is extraordinary piece of equipment.
Yes. I've had very good amps with me on stage in the past on loan. I don't have well, I have one really good amp and 2 decent amps, but I borrowed a very nice Fender amp for many years from a friend, and there was good guitar sound on stage, but I've never had as good sound on stage as with the Helix. And I'm not at the mercy of different sound guys and their ability to mic my amp properly when I'm playing larger stages.
No, exactly. And for those who are willing to spend the money, you can get cheaper versions doing not the same, but doing something similar. You can have the iRig or some of the other cheap functions. The really good thing about this is the ability to hook up the processed sound via USB. So the only bleed you will have is the guitar sound going in your mic, and that is very little. So
it gets drowned out by by the process system.
Exactly. So we will dig into that and another video as well. The same goes for drums, which is actually I think the hardest part to get silent. We will look into alternatives on having electronic drums brought into teaching lessons as well. And saying that as an acoustic drummer myself, it is a bit of a don't go there, but it's all compromising. So of course we will look at that also in another webinar. Great life hack with the Edge. Just a short question. Do you have to do something special with the Edge? Is it like a plugin, or is it just found there when you open it? How do you open the annotation tool within Edge, Thomas? Are you able to show that, or?
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah, Windows defaults to wanting to open PDFs in Edge. And the first few times I thought that's annoying. I want to open it in another. So I copied the link and opened in whatever program I wanted to open my PDFs in. But then I saw the little pen icon.
Yeah.
And thought, well, wonder what that does. And it does exactly as advertised. You can draw. You can highlight. I think should be able to highlight. Maybe I should choose a color for that. I don't know. See if this works. Somehow that doesn't work, but maybe because nothing is recognized as text within the PDF.
Oh yeah, it could be that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there is a rubber deletion tool.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and so it's just right there, and it's very easy to use, and I'm very happy with that. I had one little thing that I wanted to share as well, with regards to screen sharing within the study planner that I just remembered.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we have this study planner, and one of my students, I hope I'm not doing something GDPR dangerous by showing his name here, but we'll soon be out of his name showing. And when I open up a session here, I should be able to, here I am with the bad camera, that's not important. Start screen sharing, and if I open an application window and share the Edge window, the screen share show will resize to the format that I have on my Edge window, meaning that I can control how much of the music the student is seeing, and I can control how much screen real estate the screen sharing takes up, which is actually quite cool too. I might not use that as much in the future because you made me figure out how to use OBS for it. So now I can just show it on the screen as I want it.
Yeah, exactly.
And instead of just when I focus on one of my hands, instead of having I'm just clicking buttons as I speak. So instead of having only the hand view, I now also have a face cam on screen while demonstrating stuff with one of the hands, which also promotes communications, because ultimately what we want to do is to make the experience as personal as possible without having the full use of our body language. Yeah. It has to be a good experience for the student to be in the lesson. And I have an hour drive each way when I go to Allerød, but I'm still more tired after a day of online teaching than I have ever been after a day of in-person teaching, because I spend so much energy getting the whole experience to be as good as possible, in spite of technical difficulties and little brothers streaming Netflix while they're trying to have their lesson, so the connection is wobbly and all of that stuff. I have to provide the energy. They're used to the screen being a passive experience, so I have to pull them in and engage them in what we're doing. So that's one of my focus points for myself, one of my bullet points that I try to keep in mind all the time when I'm teaching.
And something that really talks very well into some of our next webinars, where we're going to be covering some of the pedagogical tuition methods considerations in doing online tuition. So that's really, really great, and great input there, Thomas. So now I guess hopefully we'll soon be back to normal, and we can teach the students on the Culture and Music School. What do you think? What are you going to keep doing, or what are you going to care? What experiences are you going to keep doing, you think, post-COVID?
In the beginning, I think I'm just going to enjoy being with students in person. And I'm going to enjoy, if I remember how to hold a baton, I'm going to enjoy actually conducting real-life students playing music in orchestra and sweating with the teenagers in the band room. But there are things that I'm going to take with me, because I did do some instructional videos, just propping up my phone on a camera stand with this little clip. Oh yeah. And shooting a short video of the piece that they were playing, maybe with some explanations before, and I uploaded them to a YouTube channel that I have dedicated to educational material. And I'm going to continue to do that, but my OBS production game is now at a point where I can actually have the sheet music on screen and I can produce in one go. Before I had to shoot the video and then edit afterwards. So I can make my educational videos much faster now. I can produce as I go, and almost as if I was speaking to a student that is just a camera instead of being a physical student. And I can have my different camera angles pulled in when needed and stuff like that. So my production game has been upped quite significantly. And I also plan on doing online weeks during the year to free up some time for myself. 6 less hours of transportation for me means that I can spend some of that time creating new materials for the students, or at least, even if spending the same time on work, I'll have a clearer head when I'm not driving as much for a week, and then I'll be able to create some more interesting educational materials, I think.
And helping out the environment at the same time. You're going to be, yeah.
Exactly. and I've had a few students who actually, even when we were allowed back to in-person lessons, one of my students' health there is not particularly good, and they often have sniffles or symptoms of different kinds, or just too tired to get out of the house. And I've had them zoom in to lessons while I was at the music school, but they zoomed in and we had our lesson that way. And that made it, instead of having to cancel a lesson, we just had a different kind of lesson some weeks, which is also an option. Or if, we've all become much more aware of whether or not we have a sore throat or any other kinds of symptoms of light illness. And now I can stay home and protect my colleagues and protect my pupils from catching whatever I might have and still teach.
That's
so they
great.
don't miss a lesson.
Great input. That really, makes really good sense, Thomas.
Really.
Perfect. Well, again, we could keep on chatting here, and we might. Hopefully, we can ask you to join us another day, Thomas. Is there anything else
Sure.
that you want to share with us here on the half an hour over 45 minutes over time?
45 minutes past, yeah. No, well, as I said, I've built what I have now from what I have and gradual shopping of this and that and bits and bobs. And I mean, the most important thing is that we do engage with our students, and as we upgrade, of course, the experience will be better. But the most important thing in all of this is the personal connection with the student. So I've made an effort to keep the format of the lessons as close to normal as possible. So even the tuning ritual and the opening warm-up exercise for some of my students is the same as it was when we met in person. So I'm creating a space that is as close to normal as possible. And I think that's very important. I think we've been lucky in comparison to sports clubs that we've actually been able to maintain a resemblance of normality through all of this craziness that we've been through.
Well, you worked your asses off to go there, so it's much your efforts that done it. You also mentioned, Thomas, that you just when one student finishes their lesson and another student starts, sometimes you just have them in a comment on their online room, so they can message hi.
Yeah, I can the monitor feed that I have in my ear, I can pull that up in the main feed that goes into the study planner module, and then if I have one tab open with one student and another tab with another student, and I know that they used to hang out between lessons on the music school, then I can just pull up the fader and say, hey, say hi, and then they say hi and have just a bit of an interaction, and again, a taste of something that's almost as it used to be. It's
fantastic. It's so inspiring and shows how creative all your teachers have been within this period. I really admire all the pipples and popples that have shown up within this period. Is really inspiring. So big high five to you and all the other creative teachers that have been along the webinar again today, and hopefully we'll see the webinar in the future also.
Definitely. Thank you so much for participating, Thomas. And hopefully, when we get back to normal, we can also invite you down here to Sønderborg. You're definitely going to be more than welcome. So come and check out our studio. We can do a little jam session and perhaps some recordings. And I also saw you had some Star Wars things on the shelf. So you're also going to be welcome up in the development department.
That is having Star Wars paraphernalia of all different kind of sorts, even the Darth Vader.
There you go. You're going to be loved by our development department as well. So yeah, we must invite you.
From what I've discovered in audio production environments and forums on the web, you have to be a Star Wars fanatic to work in audio production.
I think you're right.
Amazing, Thomas. Thank you so much for your time and all your great input. It's been really, really educational and very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
And remember, if you want to hook up with Thomas, you can look him up on Instagram on his @guitar_Thomas, or on his website classic-guitar.dk. Klassisk as in Danish. And we're so much over time, but this is just really exciting, and we can keep on going the whole day. And but that's what, there's more to do. And you mentioned some tutorials. That's definitely something. I'm going to run through this a bit quickly.
Yeah, do that, Thomas. Do that, Thomas.
But Dan is going to start working with some tutorials to follow up on some of the great input we had today.
Yeah, and thank you for all the great input in the chat. I know that a lot of additional plugins, a lot of additional third-party software came up in the chat. We will for sure write it all down and take it into consideration if that could be usable for all your colleagues. So a huge thanks for your active participation within the chat. It was fantastic.
And as we put in more webinars to come, I think we're pretty sure there will be more webinars. There will, without doubt, we already planned some, but also on the tech side here, I think we discovered that there's a lot of people that we can invite and have some really, really interesting talks to. So we're definitely going to do that. If you have a setup, if you have some information that you would like to share, please let us know. We would love to share or put our platform out there and our network so you can get your information out to the world. Also, we're going to be setting up a common teacher forum. We know that in some schools and in some parts of the country, in Denmark at least, there's been done some SpeedAdmin teacher forums where teachers could share their experiences and good recommendations and so forth. We're going to create now a common teacher forum in SpeedAdmin, and then it's up to your super user, your admin, to be opening up if that's going to be something that they would want in your SpeedAdmin in the school that you're at. We're going to be sending out information to super users in next week about that, how to do that, how to open up. And then because there's so, you can hear there's so much information going back and forth in the chat, and why not have a place in SpeedAdmin where you can be writing back and forth to each other and sharing good advice and so forth. Question. Well, there's not much time. Are there any questions on the chat we want to follow up on? There's one, if we could do a setup around different instruments. And I know you're doing a lot of recordings now here in our new studio with different instruments. So perhaps we could do a tutorial every time you have a new instrument coming in and say, how do we do this? How do we mic this up? And so forth. The camera and lighting is much the same, of course, but and still different, because if you're a drummer, you want the camera from one angle. If you're,
exactly.
As Thomas said with it, you want the fingers. So, yeah.
Exactly. Actually, Vivi, one of our Danish admins, right here, next time it could be really great if you also invite our teachers and not only the administration, please. What we have chosen here and what is maybe new to some of you that have had SpeedAdmin for a long time is that normally or in the past you were only allowed to participate if you signed up for the webinar. That's not longer the case. So actually you are most welcome to share the YouTube link. It would no longer be needed for to be signed in. Of course, if you want to participate in the chat, you need to be signed in with your YouTube account in order to write anything in the chat. But other than that, you're just welcome to share it with all the teachers. And I, for sure, Vivi, I will make that very clear next time we will send out the invitation, because you're totally right. This is mainly for the teachers. So we will be more specific about that one. Thank you, Vivi.
And the link was also shared for teachers in SpeedAdmin, but then when they click it away, it's difficult for them to see it again. So, but we'll do some development on that. And also, if you follow our social media, we'll make sure to share these webinars that are open for everybody. We're sharing those on social media. So let your teachers know if they follow our social media or go into our YouTube channel here and follow the new playlist called SpeedAdmin Academy. They can re-see all of the information here in this webinar and also the last webinar about online tuition. Exactly,
and just a very powerful and special approach here. That a watcher here of you would like some specific setup for specific instruments. And of course, that would be great. So when you play the violin, it could be one setup. When you play drums, it could be another setup. Thanks for asking. It's precisely what we're going to do, to have the best of all worlds. Not saying that we own the jewels to the only right way, but we will gather information. We have knowledge within the house. We have done a lot of self-education and also seeing specialists within this period. So we know a thing or two, and we will keep on progressing and keep on having knowledge within SpeedAdmin also. So thanks for the question and for the query of doing that. we will for sure do that.
And you're, of course, welcome to reach out if you we come out and do lessons or courses in SpeedAdmin. If you want us to come out, look overall on digitalization and online tuition and so forth, the technical parts. It could be an online course, it could be something where we come out and visit you. There's going to be possibilities for that as well, and more information to come on that later on.
Yes.
Great. So next webinars, 29th of April, we are going to have the webinar about teaching methods and the pedagogical thoughts or considerations. I'm really looking forward to this webinar. It's going to be really interesting. We're going to get some other great guests coming in. We might well just put it in as 2 hours webinar, I think. Today shows that it is difficult to squeeze in so much information in such a short time. So that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and thank you for standing by. We still have a lot of viewers, so thank you for standing by.
Definitely. And you can find the link then in SpeedAdmin for this or in our social media. It will come out next week, so you can share it with whoever you think this could be interesting for. Also, then the 27th of May, we're going to have a look on how is COVID-19, how's that going to shape the music service in the future. Trying to look, what is this going to do to the music service overall? That's perhaps more for management leaders, but everybody interested in music services or music schools, culture schools, will be have good information on that webinar.
That could even be more or be looked through more perspectives. It could be from an admin point of view. We have had glimpses of how the new present will be after COVID from a teacher's perspective. So I think we will. I know we will do some follow-ups when we all get back in school again. We have had great guests here today saying what they will bring along from the COVID period, and we are just as interested as you are.
And we're often in different meetings where people are reaching out to, well, we want to move this way now. We see a lot of development happening currently. So really, it's such an interesting period right now. So we're going to do our best to tag along and be helpful in sharing all the information we get with all of you.
And please let us know if you are moving in a direction which maybe isn't seen before, or if you are doing something spectacular. Let us know. We would be more than happy to take alongside the journey with you and maybe share.
Yeah, and now you're saying spectacular. It can also be smaller.
It could be smaller.
Nothing is too small, really.
No.
So any change that you see is coming out of the this pandemic and online tuition, all this. Please let us know. We would love to share the information with you or for you, or invite you in on some of these webinars. So if you have ideas, please write to us on our normal channels or info@speedadmin.com. Follow us on social media. We'll make sure you get all the links for the upcoming webinars and so forth. And I guess there's just back saying thank you all for participating.
And as we talked about yesterday, really, this all comes down to lifting the culture, to lifting the music. This is not about lifting SpeedAdmin. It's really on a higher perspective. So finding out the energy that is with all you guys seeing along today, or also in the culture schools, which we talk to by phone, by mail, it is outstanding what you have done, and the energy of bringing the culture at another level is just fantastic to be a part of. So keep up the good work. We will try to keep up as well, and maybe bringing you all closer together, lifting the culture at a higher purpose.
We need to bring our hat next time so we can take it off for all the great work that you're doing out there. Keep the music playing, keep the culture going, dances, pictures, all of that stuff going on in different music and culture schools. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing, and thank you for being part of this webinar today.
Yeah. See you.
Bye.
Bye.